Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to TRT Productions. I am your host, Big Rang, along with my homeboy, Tony Tone.
Yeah. Another day, y'all. Blessed.
I'm sorry. And welcome to TRT Productions. You can see what's on the screen, people, tonight, what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Mr. Patrick Braxton. Now, I know everybody has been watching this, and they've been paying attention to this over the news. Everybody has been wondering what's going on. So we decided that we wanted to sit back and we wanted to talk about it. First of all, let me explain what's going on for those of you who haven't.
There we go.
Okay. Here we go. Wait, what did I just do? Patrick Braxton became the first black mayor of a rural Alabama town. For the first years, the mayor and Newbern were appointed, not elected. When Patrick Braxton won the election, the outgoing mayor and his cronies refused to accept it. Now, first of all, let me stop right there. Let me just tell you something. There's a difference between a person being appointed to a seat and a person who's elected to a seat. So that's what we're here to clear up. Now, according to the story, Patrick Braxton was a resident of a rural town called Newbern. Newbern has a population of 133 people. He's lived there for over 60 years. For 60 years, this town has been appointing their mayors. I guess a person has been passing it down as he gets off the seat. I guess he says, hey, I recommend such and such take the job now that I'm gone. They had their first election in 60 years. Nobody was on the ballot except for this young man, Patrick Braxton.
Let me ask a question.
Go ahead. There it is.
Do they have to agree on an election?
I don't know, unless you have somebody who's running. Like, in order for there to be election, somebody had to put in official papers.
Right. Not more than somebody, because it has to be
right.
The majority or the legal office of the town.
Right.
Of how many people?
Of the state.
It's a state?
Well, it's a town in the state of Alabama. Right.
So it's actually not the state, it's the town.
It's still run by the state, even though it has its own county laws.
That's good to know.
It's still run by the state. So here's the population of a town who's in a county. It has 133 people who live in this town.
Okay.
In November 2020, Patrick Braxton, volunteer firefighter contractor from Newbern, Alabama, was elected mayor. He wanted to have a peaceful and timely transfer of power, so he repeatedly attempted to contact the town's previous mayor. I guess him and the mayor couldn't agree on certain things. He tried to get the keys from the mayor. The mayor gave him a set of keys. As he went to go open the doors up in the new council hall, thinking he had a new seat, the doors were locked. He proceeded then to change the locks so that him and his council could operate the way they should, and come to find out the previous mayor, Mr. Haywood Stokes, locked the doors again.
No, this is funny way you said it.
Mr. Haywood Stokes.
Mr. Haywood Stokes.
Okay, let me read on. Braxton, who is black, decided to go to the town hall and talk to Stokes, who is white, in person. He told Stokes that he would need a key to the town hall to begin his duties. Stokes replied, gave him the key, but when Braxton entered the building, he found that the town hall had been stripped of its records. So now when this man moved out, he took everything with him. Everything that went according to the town, he took with him. Now here's the thing that baffles me, people. And I heard that if you go and you watch, if you follow the story, you get a little more than what we're giving you. There's an interview that's out where he appointed his own councilman. Of course, he appointed an all-black council, which anyone would in this case.
No.
Yeah, they would. If you were all black, you would. In this situation, I'm saying yes. Okay, go ahead.
All I was gonna say it shouldn't matter what his council was. If it just happened to be all black, okay.
No, but he appointed.
I understand.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I understand. So he knew no good white people then.
I don't think it was a matter of no good white
That's
people.
the point I'm trying to make.
I think it was just a matter of him being comfortable of having an all-black council around him because the council has been white for 60-something years. So I guess I understand that. Even
I just don't understand the outbursts of color. Why he couldn't choose? He chose his own. If they all black, they all black. It shouldn't matter. That's
a good point.
That was the point of it on both sides.
Right. I'm not even going to argue that because I want to add to that the fact that he was the only person on the ballot. Like, well, there were no other black people who were qualified, or there were no white people who wanted to run. Like, why was he if you have 133 people in a town, why is he the only black man,
Thank you.
On the ballot?
Doesn't
matter that he was black.
Right.
Okay, I get you. But in this case, it seems to be a black and white issue. So I just want to stick to the facts. Now, if the facts are wrong,
it depends on who making it a black and white issue.
The whole town is making it a black and white
issue. I haven't spoke to those towns, so I don't know.
That's simply touche. So to move along with the story,
before you go on,
go ahead.
How much of the town? Okay, you said 100. How many people?
133.
I'll say, are they sure all 133 people knew that
all
it was an election?
All of the 133 people. I would say maybe from what they reported, 10% of the people. I'm not even going to say 10%. Maybe 2% of the people agree with him who are non-black. Go ahead.
No, the question was.
I'm sorry.
Out of the 133 people, do they know that all of them was aware that there was an election?
I believe so. Yes.
You believe so?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe because as you get further into the story, it is also reported that the old mayor, Mr. Stokes, was having council meetings in private homes with other council members who were probably previously on the seat that he appointed.
Of course.
Right. So it might to believe that maybe they didn't want him to have the seat, or.
See, my point is, how would it come to an election if this is not something they really wanted?
Right. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
And how could it? Hold on. And how can it come to an election without nobody voting?
Right. How could there only be one person on the ballot?
Okay, and then how many votes did he get?
Even though he was the.
Okay, how many votes did he get?
I don't know. It didn't say. It only lets you know that he won by default.
Because that lets you know whether if anybody even.
But it does
vote for him.
It does say that he had non-colored vote for him. It does say that.
Non-colored vote forms?
White people. I was trying not to say that, but okay. So he had white people as well as black people vote for him. Just as
I'm trying to. So he did have some votes.
He did have votes.
Okay, that's what I'm trying.
He won by default.
Winning by default meaning it's like when you go to the basketball game, you ain't got enough players to play in the game.
Right.
And you won. You don't have to play the game.
I thought that was forfeit.
That's the same thing.
Okay.
I just couldn't get the word out, so I had to describe what I was saying.
Okay, that's that.
But that's what that comes to, a forfeit. That's by default.
Okay.
I'm talking about, did he get votes? Did people agree with him being the mayor? Even though the keys was handed over, allegedly.
That's true. From the day he was sworn in until nearly 3 years later, Stokes and his cronies have refused to acknowledge Braxton's legitimacy as mayor, going so far as to prevent him from accessing city mail-in funds. Wow. So he the mayor of the city.
Right.
He don't collect none of the mail, or he don't get none of the damn city funds too. What the? You all right? You okay?
I'm trying not to make it loud.
You know what you mean? Make it normal as possible. It's okay. So they decided not to give him any of the mail, any of the money. You know, so I understand. And then it says Braxton and his 4 appointed city council members filed a lawsuit against Stokes and the city council, alleging that the former mayor and his allies violated federal civil rights law by preventing Braxton from acting as mayor. First of all, I want to know who's the electoral, who's the who runs the elected program
Well, yeah.
in
Those are the
Newbern?
questions I asked behind the scenes.
In Newbern, who runs the electric mayor? You hear me?
What,
the elected mayor. God,
what they basically did was gave him an empty building and said, go ahead, do your thing, and threw him some keys.
Right.
They took all what they felt was their paperwork from all the years that they, because you have to say they, because it's being projected that it's a white-black thing. So they took all their paperwork out and said, go ahead, you can do what you got to do then. You start like we started off maybe, how many years? 60 years ago? Is that correct?
Yes. I'm sorry, I was reading it because it said that Newbern was incorporated in 1854, the year the town held its first election. So they haven't had an election. Oh my goodness, man. I mean, why would you want to take over It says in the nearly 2 centuries since the town's founded, it had retained two aspects of its early days. It has a majority black population, which until Braxton, a majority white leadership. Newbern is about 80% black and 20% white. Until Braxton appointed the 4 members of city council, there had only been one black city council member before that. For as long as anyone can remember, the mayor had been either or inherited or appointed position, with the multiple mayors, including Stokes, serving the position for over a decade. Robert, and they go on to name others. A decent town's early founder was mayor of Newbern for 44 years, while Paul Owens was a city council member for 33 years. We recall coming mayor for 12 years. Stokes became mayor in 2008, resigning until Braxton election 12 years later. They basically don't want to give up this town. You know what this sounds like? It sounds like this town is afraid of a power shift. That's what it sounds like to me. It basically sound like this town is afraid of a power shift. So if you give this black mayor and his black council control of a city that's already 80% black, what do you think the 20% of the white people are thinking at this point? What do you think is going through their mind? Like, man, we control. You got to understand, the 20% controls the 100% of the population, with 80% of it being black. That 20% of the white controls that small 133 people who are registered in that town. They control that.
Well, they have been controlling it based on
over 60
information we
years.
received. And I guess they got tired. I don't know how that works.
Wait, but so my thing is, okay, so let's take color out of this.
Can you?
Not really, but I'm trying to look at another. Excuse me. I'm trying to look at another back door. And the reason why I'm looking at another back door is because I'm just hearing something that just baffles me. 80%, 20%, 80% black, 20% white. 60 years of this going on, which means where the hell were the black people at for 60 years to allow this to continue that long? Where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you? What do that 20% of that population have over 80% of black people that they could not overthrow their own town?
What we spoke about yesterday, money, maybe finances, maybe they own the biggest business. What is the financial business in the town?
We're gonna have to do that on the part 2. That's a good question.
But those are the things, because it's got it, as we spoke about behind the scenes. It's got to be on the power and the capital of the city,
right? And
they or whoever they are have been in control of that.
And you always come up with good points. Don't mean to cut you off, and I apologize, but I'm gonna follow up this by saying, and you're right, you're exactly right. Then how does a black man get on an election ballot by himself?
That's a lot of questions remain to be seen. Because
I understand now.
I mean, the prior mayor must have agreed to the election. Or what, he was overthrown? But how could he be overthrown?
If you look at it, as I'm starting to really understand what's happening right now, If that 20% of that population gives up the key to the city council, they lose their town. They lose there's a possibility they might lose all residency of that 20% to that town.
Who? The 20%?
Yes.
Now the 20% is not going to lose anything. What the 20% is probably going to do is let their business is still going to run the town.
Not necessarily. You see, now
they're already founded there. People are not going to just leave work.
They were founded for 60 years, and now you're looking at
People are not
change.
just going to leave work.
Well, it might not be a possibility of work. The possibility. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you guys say.
What I'm saying is, not only did they keep the mail from them, but they also kept the funding from them. By them holding back the funding, which means that at this point, they couldn't control certain aspects, like giving people certain contract jobs, or putting up certain buildings, or passing certain inspections, or certain things that shouldn't pass, couldn't pass.
You must not be listening to your own show.
Yes, but I'm telling you, I understand what you said to me about the fact of the white people having majority of the business in the company. I call
them the 20%.
Right, and okay, the 20% having majority of the business in the town. I get what you're saying, but if you rule with that 80% and you put somebody in that 80% in charge, there's a possibility that you can move that 20% out.
That ain't that 80% is not in power because they're not control of the financial stability of the town.
Not off the top, no.
Not off the top, not in no form or fashion. They're only 80% due to population.
But if you give them control of the city funding, then that can change over the years.
Okay, well, you got to understand where the city funding is coming from.
Okay.
It's also coming from the 20%.
No, it does not. It comes from a state budget.
Okay.
You have a state budget.
So you redirect the state budget then?
No.
What?
No.
Wait a minute. This is what I'm seeing happen. Based on what you're telling me, the 20% packed up their stuff, said, okay, you want the position, here you go. Here goes some keys.
Here goes some keys.
To the building. Took all their stuff that they built or whatever. Now they telling you to build your own.
Basically.
Okay, so that's what you have to do.
Right.
You have to build your fund and all of that. That's what they're telling them to do.
I understand that.
And then of their funding, the majority of their funding is coming from that 20%. So if that 20% is not in office, you think the 20% going to invest in the new business?
No,
that's not theirs.
But the fact that you're taking something that doesn't belong to you. Now, if you're going to keep the 20% of the town financially, that's you. That's fine.
That's the town.
But you're taking city-funded money? No. That's not appointed to you. It's appointed to the elected officials. And if you recognize them as an elected official, why did you take the money?
So you're saying city funding, okay. City funding from the government that helps you take care of your town and da-da-da-da.
Right. It's just like when
that's where power come in order.
It's just like when the mayor and when the United States go through a budget toss of how they're going to budget the states of the United States, how they're going to budget each state in the United States. Now everybody doesn't get the same package.
Based on population.
Thank you. So now you probably think this small town probably gets $1 million funding maybe a year, maybe less than that, for the small population, and a lot of it probably goes to their elected officials like your firemen, your policemen, your sheriff, wherever you have your schools, your principal, your teachers, your road tax, things like that,
Yeah, your roads, your power companies,
right. So now you got 133 people who probably pay maybe like I said, they probably pay road tax, school tax, probably all go to the same damn church, all of that. But here's the thing, it's a divided town. And the fact that they still separate their dead, something is wrong there. There's 2 cemeteries, one for whites, one for blacks.
Wait a minute. Is it designated one for whites, one for blacks?
Yes.
Or do blacks and whites choose to go to the separate
designated
places? So you saying a black person can't go to the white burial site?
No.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to hear you say it.
In this town, they're using the old slave burial site.
Okay.
Newbern, Alabama. Newbern, Newbern, Alabama. It just baffled me how this goes on for 60 years, but that goes to show you the power of the 20%.
Well, that also shows that how certain things that's been allowed for a long time, and everything has a time appointed when it
a time and a place.
A time. Nothing is forever.
Okay, so
especially if you don't allow it.
You mentioned that they need to go get their own. So how do you go?
They're gonna have to. I didn't mention they are gonna have to start. They're gonna have to do a lot on their own because they're not gonna get no help from the 20%.
Is there a way that you can give me an example of how they will be able to kick up their own?
Well, they're gonna have to produce. Well, like I said, those 20%, the businesses that they have, they're not gonna shut their businesses down. They're still gonna have their businesses, but I guess there's gonna be more businesses or opportunities for the 80%. And then you also got to think, if they was who knows how well the town was being ran by the 20%.
Obviously, it couldn't have been no complaints if they had it for 60 years. So what I'm just asking you is, right now they get no mail and they get no funding.
They don't get no mail?
Hold on. They don't get no mail. They get no funding. They're locked out of the city hall. How do they get their own?
I'm trying to understand, like you said, the big word is how. How are they not getting their mail? How are they not in control of that?
I just told you that the guy before them, Mr. Stokes,
did what?
He's keeping everything. He didn't return. He didn't turn over anything. They're having private council meetings. Let me read the rest.
No,
because it goes on to mention the lawsuit and
but
everything.
When I Googled his name, it came up as the mayor of the town. Being the mayor, he should be able to make certain calls and put stops to certain things. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's not happening.
That's the how and the why. Not based on what he's doing, that one individual. How is that one individual shutting down the whole town?
He goes on to say that he never even heard of elections as a child, which means he's been in this town for a long time. My question is, why now? What made you decide to run for mayor knowing the situation?
If there haven't been elections. Now, has there been he said he's never heard of an election.
It doesn't really tell you why the elections came up, why all of a sudden we have elections. It just tells you that they don't want it. It goes on to say, we can't have elections here. We don't have ballot boxes, Stokes told him. Braxton was undeterred. He had plans for how he wanted to improve his community as mayor. After serving my community as a volunteer firefighter and first responder, seeing what the needs were in the community, that's what motivated me to go ahead and put in my statement for the candidate. He said he put it in his statement, I guess.
Maybe there was always an opportunity for elections and people just ignored it.
Or maybe
one day he just stepped up and said, "You know what? Bloop, I'm in now."
Or maybe he was the only one who was qualified to put in for it.
I doubt that. In the whole town, there's nobody else that's done nothing with it. What about his predecessors or somebody he worked with or somebody else?
It did say back in the story. It did say that there was one black council member. We don't know who that one black council member is, what he did, or how he did it amongst the 20%.
He also might be somebody's uncle.
Okay, I get it. For those who listen, you don't get that, but it's okay. I ain't even gonna take.
You keep sleeping on people.
I ain't sleeping on nobody.
They must be saying they didn't get it. They understood just how I said it.
Nasty.
He probably was somebody's uncle.
Okay, watch yourself.
He didn't go for the office.
Or he's married to somebody.
How come his name is not mentioned and he's not supporting this brother?
It does say later, with the help of people in the county courthouse, he was able to fill out the correct forms By the end of July 2020, Braxton received a call from the probate judge Arthur Crawford, the election official in Hale County. Crawford told him that he was the only person who qualified to run for mayor and therefore was mayor by default, Braxton said. So Hale County said he was...
So where was the fight between... So there had to been... You said by default. So what made him beat the mayor that was already in there? Just because nobody else was on it? So I guess the mayor that was already there wasn't even on the ballot then.
Well, it does say that the mayor prior to him was qualified in 2008.
What disqualified? Oh, maybe... Is there a limitation of how many years? Is that what it is?
I guess because they didn't have no election, there was no years. Because prior to that, remember I said somebody served 40-something years and 33 years and then became mayor after 10 years and all that kind of crap. So it just looked like they was just selecting anybody who they wanted. That council would say, okay, you know what, it's your turn now.
You want a job? I got a job for you. Come on down here and be mayor of the town. Probably was the car dealer.
That's crazy. And no one, and here's the thing, because no one had to run to city council, Crawford and Fourth Circuit Judge Marvin W. Wiggins told Braxton to appoint his counsel. Braxton asked both white and black residents as part of his efforts to unify the town. All of the white residents said no.
All the white residents said no.
All the white residents said no to be a part of the Black Mayor's Council. Okay.
Now, see, that explains why he had an all-black council.
Now, my thing is here. It also says that he was sworn in by Fourth City Council Crawford and Fourth Circuit Judge Marvin W. Wiggins. We got to find out who this Marvin W. Wiggins is. He told Braxton to appoint counsel. Said so on November 2nd, 2020, Crawford swore in Braxton and his four council members, James Ballard, Barbara Patrick, Janice Qualls, and Wanda Scott.
I thought you were going to say Wanda Sykes.
Watch yourself, man. Go ahead. I don't know. And it's like this all happened a week after he sworn in.
Of course, because that's when it's time to take over. They said, "Here, take the keys." They pulled up the tow truck. I mean, not the tow truck, the moving truck. Packed all their stuff in the truck, and they just left. They said, "Go ahead. You want the building? You can have the building. We still got the town." That's how they think.
Listen to this. It says Braxton went to the post office to retrieve the city mail. He paid for the city's post office box himself because he had been battered. But no, excuse me. Sorry, y'all. Excuse me. He has been barred from using city accounts. He asked the white woman working there why he wasn't getting city mail. She told him that she had received an email saying that he was not the mayor. During that brief time, he had crossed to town hall. Braxton retrieved 2 boxes at the time. He thought the box was full of junk, but he decided to keep them away. When he and Lewis went through them, later found documents that outlined how the lame duck council had kept their position, though I don't want to read toss. I don't know all of that. I don't want to read all of that. I ain't in the name caller. And it says, despite knowing his mention to run for mayor, despite knowing he had to not follow all legal procedures for his candidacy, the former mayor and his city council was shocked that Braxton was successful in his efforts, so they did something about it.
So, it's strange how the 20% still can take over things.
And you know what's crazy? It says to resolve their mistakes, council members decided to have elections for which they will all run for office. The council's members fill out all necessary paperwork, and they all late. 10 days later, declared themselves council members by default because no one else ran in the election. You get that?
So they all kept getting the same jobs.
No. So what happened is,
again?
so what happens is, as a council, they already had the official rights to certain things. So they ordered a council election.
Right.
Nobody else.
Just a council election.
Yeah. Nobody else would come but them.
Just the 10 or 8 or whoever was there.
Right.
They elect 5 say yes, like a business.
And they elected themselves.
Yeah, like a business.
But it's not official.
Why is it not?
Because they're not the official town. This is the old council members saying that they don't want to give up their council seats. So they're not
having an election for their council seats. They just selected.
Okay, you didn't listen to what I said.
Go ahead.
I said to you, the black man appointed his 4 council members. Right. The 20% did not acknowledge them.
Right.
So what they did was they went and had their own elections. They refiled the papers.
Go ahead.
For council elections, not mayor elections, council elections.
Right.
No one knew about it but them.
Right.
So they all signed on the ballot. They all put themselves on the ballot. Right. There's no one to run against anybody on any seat.
Because they controlling the ballot. It's just them.
Because they didn't tell nobody about the election.
I know.
Okay.
They did a private election with just them.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. This is complicated.
Not really.
I mean,
they're just doing what the hell they want to do. They figure that's their town.
How a town that's run by the state of Alabama, how do you...
It's not. Obviously, it's not.
Go ahead.
Obviously, it's not. Is it going by state rules?
There's no way in the world that the state doesn't know what's going on. There's no way in the world.
Power.
When they said about the circuit judge, which means he had to file certain papers to make that happen. So if he files certain papers, then the state should step in. The state is not stepping in. The state is not stepping in to give this man his just seat. They're not stepping in. That's something that I'm trying to get my grasp on. Why is the state not stepping in? If he is the legitimate mayor, why is the state not stepping in and saying, "Hey, there's a problem here"?
So you saying why is white folks not acting right? Is that what you're trying to say? Why is white folks not acting right?
Wow, what? I didn't say that.
I said it.
I'm just saying why the state hasn't recognized.
In other words, does that seem strange to you?
Yes.
Really?
In this day and times.
Day and times. Go ahead, I'm going to listen.
Not that you have a small town of 133 people going through what they're going through. That does not surprise me. I have an old man who comes from a small South Carolina town just like that, and the town is the same way. Basically, in this town where we're at, and my son could confirm this, there's one store on that whole complex or county road. Am I right, Ralph? There's one road, there's one store, and he ain't black. I'm talking about Billy's in Carolina. You know what I'm saying?
What I'm seeing is the same thing going on across the state, not something based on a little town. This is
what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you, there was a process when one time somebody tried to put a store up in a location where this store, not too far, and the person happened to be black. They end up burning the store down and basically killing the person inside the store. Right? The problem, what I'm saying to you, is that the state got involved. In this situation here, you don't hear anything about the state getting involved with a black man who's won an election by right. And it's plain to see from the story that you're reading that you have this 20% of white people who are actually telling him, because of the color of his skin, because of the power that he may bring, he's not going to be accepted in that seat. I'm done.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to make one comment.
Go ahead.
Is that the first time that you saw 20% not want to accept defeat? So I guess January 6th didn't mean nothing to you.
Blatantly in the open, I'm giving you this one straight off the
Blatantly in the open.
Blatantly in the open, this is the second time because, yes, January 6th was the first and it was a surprise. Because if the roles were reversed and they were colored trying to storm that Capitol, the gunshots would have been blaring.
I don't want to shift it to that.
I'm not shifting it to that. I'm trying to tell you.
I thought you said you was done.
I'm trying to.
No, wait.
I'm trying to say that what you're saying is exactly right. This is not the first time. Am I surprised of what's happening? No. Like I said before,
you said you was surprised.
No, I said I was surprised that the state is not getting involved the way they should. Not that you have 133 people fighting over a seat. That neither one of them, well, I can't see one of them because one of them is an electric, I keep saying that, is an elected official. Mm-hmm. Now you have a group of people, now here's the thing. If you are the sheriff in this whole situation, obviously the sheriff is controlled by that 20%. He might be on the council board. Why you ain't arrest this guy, knowing that this guy is the official mayor? Okay, I'm just asking. The look told it all, but I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out, what are you thinking about?
I'm trying to find...
What are you baffled about? This is the same thing going in the presidency
of the
United States.
I'm baffled that...
The same thing.
I'm baffled because you got 80%...
Didn't he have boxes locked away when he was proclaimed not to be president anymore?
He said he left the trash in the office.
So what is this any different from that?
Well, my thing was, when
he left, he took some shit with him just like these people.
Hold on. He left you trash in the office, which means you got in the first time, right? You went ahead and changed a lot because you didn't want to have certain people walking in and out of the building who weren't council members. So you changed and put on your own lock. He went around, turned right back around, and put some other locks back on, locked you right back to out. Now my point still stands in all of this. You do not hear the story about any police, any marshal, any sheriff, anybody of that county getting involved in this situation. Now I understand about what you want to say. Go ahead.
No, you don't.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The individuals that you just mentioned,
yes,
was all hired
right
by the 20%.
Right.
So why would they go against the 20%? You got to listen to what you actually saying. You actually explaining the answers to your questions.
To the point where they kept the funds because they didn't want the salaries.
They just trying to shut things down because they feel they can do it. Why is that? That doesn't sound hard. That doesn't sound strange. That doesn't sound like something that hasn't been done to us for years. I'm trying to shut down our growth.
I'm just baffled how 80% can allow 20% to rule for 60-something years. I get the power shifting of money and things like that, but damn, 60-something years?
The money might shift. That don't mean the power shifts.
Amen.
So you got to understand what's shifting. They still trying to control the shift.
How did this brother sneak in the back door?
He didn't sneak in the back door. He got on the ballot that people didn't pay attention to anymore. They did their own thing, from what you're telling me. They did their own thing. The ballot always was open, but nobody participated in it because it wasn't a reason. Now he smartened up and said, you know what, I'm going to put in for the ballot. That's why I said how many people voted for him, because a lot of people probably didn't even know the ballot was open. They was going to do like they normally do and re-elect who they want to elect.
I do agree with the point when you did say that they need to get up and do their own thing. I just didn't
They're
know
going to have to get up and do their own thing because they're not leaving them nothing to work with.
Okay, so he goes after and he starts electing his sheriffs, his fire marshals.
I'm sure that wasn't difficult.
Right. But
He might have kept some people in place that was already there if they was doing the proper job that he thought they'd be doing.
But he did ask, and no one said. Everybody said no. He did ask.
Okay.
If you remember, I read in the story that he asked because he wanted to have an equal council seat. He didn't want to have what he had, but they're the only people who applied, and
based on the racism I perceive from the from the town, or not from the town, but the explanation of the town, that wasn't going to go down anyway.
It wasn't going to go down.
That 20% liked the way things was.
We have to do a part 2 on Newbern, Alabama, and we have to get information on the state of Alabama, what they think about the situation, how much they're funded, how much is he locked out. It's got to be a part 2 to this, because I'm still a little baffled even after the news. Like, what? How does this happen in 2023? It take this long to make the news? Like, this is ridiculous.
How long have you said that about the
certain
presidential election?
Well, I mean, hey, look.
What's different?
A lot of us who voted for who they voted for have to suffer at this point. I'm not suffering. But I'm not throwing my hands up in the air either. You can't be done on a situation that has no ending. You just have to step back and say, okay, look, this is what it is. This is the way we have to come forward. Most of us will take the direct approach, where most of us will use the back door. Most of us will take it rather than steal it. And some people think it's the same thing, but it's not. So at this point, I hope Patrick Braxton and his council, the county of Newbern, the state of Alabama, and everybody involved in that situation can really come to their heads and be adults about it. An election is an election. If you wanted to win, why didn't you run? The fact that you were scared to run because you only had 20% of white people to vote for you.
No, they felt they didn't have to run. They haven't been running before, so why they running now?
All of a sudden now election comes up.
I don't think it's all of a sudden, but I'm not sure. But I will know on the follow-up.
Maybe we'll follow it up.
Because I want to know, because like I said, the election might have been open every year, but nobody wanted to take the position, because I guess the 20% already had that lockdown under control. Based on what you're telling me, they have private councils even after they're out of office. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, that 20% has some long bread. Long bread. Yeah, you ain't lying about that.
I think that 20% was the bread.
Was the bread.
It's not even long bread.
You've been listening to TRT Productions. I am Big Man, along with my co-host Tony Tone.
Yeah.
We want to thank you for joining us. You could click on anybody you want to on the internet, but you choose to click on us, and that we appreciate. Make sure you Cash App, subscribe, and request. Cash App TRT Living Room, hashtag Living Room TRT. That's spelled LIVINROOMTRT. LIVINROOMTRT. Okay, man.
And on another note, we're going to follow up. Also, I wanted to talk about, but as far as that mayor and our mayor and what his predictions on what's going to happen regarding the vagrants that's been important all over the United States, and what is it costing the cities and states. And he's also talking about the benefits he's not receiving from the government to try to take care of these people. And he's talking about a lot. That's going to be in the follow-up show also.
Can I ask you a question? Are these black mayors catching hell?
No, this is not what I'm talking about. It's not a black mayor thing. That's kind of separate.
Okay.
This is about, from what he's saying, this has nothing to do with color. This has to do with you asking. He's saying, I had to listen to him yesterday.
Right.
He's saying that you asking us to take on these people, migrants, and you, first of all, you're not giving us the funding or the time. You're just dumping them here.
Damn, he used the word dumping?
No, he didn't.
He didn't
I
use
used that word.
okay.
I'm just, I ain't going to go through it all
Placing?
he said.
He used placing?
Where?
Did he use placing, the word?
No, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Please continue.
I just know that, and they even picketing. If you're watching the news, they're picketing in Staten Island. I mean, the community is saying we don't want them, this, that, and the other. But he's talking about the financial problem it's going to cause.
As you bringing it up, let me ask you: do we have the right to picket? Do we have the?
You always have the right to picket.
To
if you disagree with something.
The land of opportunity. Do we have the right to refuse? Because we pay tax. Wait, hold on. Let me just ask.
Well,
Can I just ask? You don't even let me ask. Let me organize my questions so it sounds correct, so you can not look at me the way you look at me when I ask stupid questions. Do we have a right as taxpayers to organize the right to keep foreigners out when some of us are foreigners ourselves? Go ahead.
If it takes away from the value of the ones that are here,
right,
then you have to give it a thought. You have to understand what's going on.
What if the value of those who are here don't like to serve the value of a lesser position? And what I'm saying to you is when you bring these migrants, they help our economy. Not only do they do the jobs that a lot of us are too...
Wait. How do they help our economy? Because
they have to register. They have to register with Social Security. They get working numbers. They pay their taxes.
No.
Yes, they are.
That don't happen until years later.
It doesn't matter when
it does matter.
It
does matter. You got to listen to what's being said. It's the cost of having to give them housing, give them medical, give them teaching, put their kids through school, all of that. You got to look at the whole breakdown of what is being asked of each individual state, and based on what's being said, they're not receiving the federal funding to do this. They're having to use the funding that's already been budgeted based on the population in which you live, and you have to break that down to take care of a couple of extra thousand. So how does that stress out your budget?
And all of this is coming from a country who prints their own money.
I understand all that.
If this was okay, you asking me, I'm just breaking it down. You want me to? If this is...
We're talking about individual states. New York State doesn't print their own money.
We're talking about a country who prints their own money.
I'm talking about a state.
Who provides for the states. This country...
But they're not providing. That's what the thing, that's what the issue is.
Okay,
go ahead.
Thank you. Like I said, this is a country who takes care of 52, 53 states, however you put it. They print their own money, but yet they're burning $26 million plus a day. A day. This is a fact. So how you not have the money to provide for these people when you can burn $26 million a day?
Nobody said they didn't have it. I said they're not receiving it to do what they need to do from the same government that's burning the money.
I heard you.
State, not government. I'm talking about state.
The
same thing with the guy that's trying to get in office.
What we have to learn is that there's not a state who produces their own money. We all get a budget from this country. Within that budget is what we determine. That's why they take census. You said it yourself. It determines on the population. So now if you overpopulate it, and I'm pretty sure this is what the mayor is trying to compensate right now, to say, hey, we're overpopulated. You're burning money by the day, but you're not giving us the money that you're burning, or whatever, however you want to put it, to provide the resources for these people. And instead you're asking me, as the mayor of New York City, to take my tax earned money from my taxpayers to put these people up. He doesn't want to do it because that takes a cut out of a lot of people's pockets.
He's not saying he doesn't want to do it.
He's not going to do it. That's the reason why the cutbacks. If I'm the mayor of New York City, I wouldn't do it either. But your relationship right now with your people in certain seats are going to change. You as the mayor of New York City, you can't turn these people away. You just can't do it. No matter how much you plead, no matter how much you beg, no matter how much you think they should be redirected for a certain period of time until
nobody said that.
Okay, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. I do apologize.
All I said was he's reporting on the people are being, I hate to use the word dumped, but that's what they're being doing. They would sit here with no pre-call to say you're getting these people, here are the funds to take care of them.
Right.
He's saying, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. You get $3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That can maintain your household. But now you got your sister and your brother's family living with you, and you have to live off that same budget. It'll work out for a while, but it's gonna put a stress.
Of course it is.
Okay, so that's what he's saying.
Of course it is.
That's what he's saying.
Now, here's the thing that if I'm the person that it puts stress on.
Go ahead.
Because now I'm in control of a situation
that you're losing control of.
You already lost control when you're allowed to
no.
It's called, my old man used to call stretching the rubber band. You already lost control when you stretched the rubber band.
That's why you can stretch it.
You already lost control when you stretched that rubber band.
Okay, go ahead.
When you decided to take on and what you really can't say no.
He didn't decide, but go ahead.
No, he can't decide. It was something that was put in his lap. It was no decision. This is what you're going to do. I know that. And this is the budget that you're going to use to do it. And it definitely wasn't enough to house these people. Wasn't enough to do a lot of things. And I said by the next 2 years, not even the next 2 years, I'm even saying in the next year and a half, it's definitely going to come to a default. Everything is going to have to stop because they're not going to give. He can't take anymore, and there's no place to put them. I'm totally well aware of what's happening right now with the mayor of New York City. But I'm also aware that, this is the time where you got certain people who make a certain amount of money. And this is not taking a shot at the people who earn their seat. There are people who earn that 100,000 plus. There are definitely people who earn that 100,000 plus.
I don't care nothing about them people. I'm talking
but
about
this is the people, but I'm just telling you that because he has to budget his city for the migrants, this is where it trickles down from. It's going to start trickling down from the people who make that 250,000 on down to the people who make 30,000. There are a lot of people who live off the fact of the city paying overtime. A lot. There's a lot of people. This doesn't just affect the migrants, but you got to think about the people who are not able to make that overtime anymore because the city's going to shut overtime down. They have to. In order to keep that extra money, you got a lot of people who are not going to be able to make rent, make food for the month, car notes.
I understand all of that.
Right.
That's the purpose of what he's saying.
Right.
But that's for another show.
I'm just letting you know. I'm well aware of what you're saying to me.
Okay.
But yet it's still, he has to go through this with a state who burns $26 million a day. Still not understanding the economy.
New York State burns that?
Let's look it up. How much money does the government burn a day?
I didn't say the government. I said New York State.
New York State ain't burning no damn money.
Okay, well that's what I'm telling you. You keep saying that.
Man, you've been listening to TRT. We can go at this all night. We already in. Until the next time, people, thank you for joining us. Like I said, you could click anywhere you choose to tune into us, and we appreciate you listening to us talk to you. Until we meet again, I'm Big Ron. That's Tony. I'm Big Ron. I'm Big Ran. That's Tone.
You don't know who he is.
Yeah.
People, y'all be blessed.
Y'all have a good
And
night.
continue to wash your hands because it's coming back.
Woo.